Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Susan James, Assistant Director here at Bayless Library, and I welcome you all and congratulate you on the journal. It's wonderful. I'm glad to be able to share this experience with you. I also wanted to invite you back in a couple weeks for the Way North event. It's the book Ron Rickey compiled this year, The Way North Collected UP New Works, and we have 7 authors coming. A couple are here tonight, Julie Barber and Mary McMinn, and Ellen Airgood is coming, Eric Idzinski, Sue Harrison, Ellie Kimball, and, well, Janice, too, is here. So that's October 29th at 7 p.m., so I hope you can come. We have more flyers and information in the back, so I'll turn this over to Julie to continue. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. And I hope you'll take a gander at our new journal. We're really happy. Mary and I almost jumped out of our skin when we saw it. So we're really proud of it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Really thank Melissa Connors for doing such a beautiful job with our cover. Thank you for coming. We really want to thank Bayless for having us again. You know, I think this is the 3rd year in a row. So just really thrilled to be able to share this with the community and to have art displayed in the community room. I'm just really happy to have them let us be here. I kind of want to talk about what we're going to do. We're going to do things, well, we do it about the same every year. We'll have Jeannie Minesto talk about the art that's here, and some of the art that's in the journal is here. This is the cover. It's in color, so you kind of get to see it before it was changed into black and white. And so she'll talk a little bit about some of the photographs. She was our guest editor for our guest art editor for this past issue, and she's going to help us out again with the next issue. So we're really excited about that. We'll introduce our student readers to you, our student editors from the last journal and from the new one. So we'll pick on them a little bit, but some of them don't have to stand up here yet. So I'm looking at Meredith. But some of them, the editors from the last issue will be reading little excerpts for us. Some will be reading poems that they just fell in love with when they were reading for the journal last semester. We'll have Jelena come up and talk about nonfiction and her process. And then we'll have a little reading for you. And then Amber Edmondson is with us tonight. She's one of our poetry contributors. She's the first actually piece of literary work in the journal, the first poem. So she'll be reading to us tonight. And then we'll wrap things up after she finishes. But I also want to say that with volume 3 this issue is on sale out in the lobby, and issues 1 and 2 are out there too. So even if you don't buy issue 1 and 2, or if you just want to look at all of them are here, so you can kind of look at how we progressed over time, which we just hope we keep progressing. At any rate, I'm Julie Barber. I edit poetry with students and also art. And Mary McMinn, who's in the back.
Hello.
She edits fiction and art and does the design. So she does the layout. And this isn't easy work. It takes a lot of time. Mary and I pretty much spend all summer proofing this thing. So once we're done with the semesters, then we spend the summer proofing it and getting it ready for publication. So we don't take time off, but honestly, it's a labor of love. So it's not something that we don't do because we don't love it. And Jelena Rose, she's up here in the 3rd row. Say hi. Hello. She edits nonfiction for us, and she was working with us on the first issue, and then took a little time off for the second issue while we got everything together. And Mary came in, and then came back to us this time to edit nonfiction, which is Jelena just loves nonfiction and poetry, and so we're just so happy to have her with us again. So now I want to introduce you to Jeannie Minesto, who helped us out this time. I want to talk to you a little bit about her, read her bio, and then I want to read Melissa Connors' bio so you can know a little bit about them. Jeannie Minesto is a local artist, and we like to choose local artists because we like to choose local artists to help us guest edit, but also we like to publish local artists, and Melissa is from Sioux, Ontario. So we like to kind of keep it local. We're going to branch out this year to Michigan and Ontario with our art submissions, but we just still want UP artists. So UP artists who do photography, drawing, painting, whose work might look good in black and white, please let them know that we're looking. At any rate, Virginia Monesto, I'll tell you a little bit about her. She's a native of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, so she's one of our own. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in education from the University of Michigan with a minor in English and the arts and a master's degree from Central Michigan University. Her strong interest in the natural world has guided her artistic endeavors. She has exhibited her work in Sault Ste. Marie's Alberta House Gallery, as well as with the EUP Craftsmen, the Les Chenaux Arts Council, at the Algoma Fall Festival of the Arts, and in the Kenneth Shouldis Library Art Gallery. So if you go around to the galleries here, you're probably gonna see her work at some point. I remember when your work was over at Shouldis. And for Melissa Connors, let me tell you a little bit about her. She's originally from Cumberland, Rhode Island, and she moved with her husband and two sons to Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario to run a small resort in 2004. Her passion has always been photography, and she's been practicing it and working with Photoshop for over 15 years. She only recently started actively pursuing exhibiting her photos, and since then her work has been shown at a number of local galleries and featured online at SiouxToday.com. She has a website, and she also has cards on the table, so feel free to pick one up, check her work out. One of her photos, the one in the very back, and if you want me to tell you later on, I've got to brag about her. I hope she doesn't mind. The picture that's on the back table to my right was on National Geographic's Daily Dozen yesterday. So if you go to National Geographic and look at October 9th and scroll down, I think it's about the 10th one down, it's further down, but you'll see it and you'll see your name. And you can click on her name and there's a whole gallery on National Geographic's website. So we're really proud of you, and I'm glad she told me that. And she's also had other prizes. So this isn't just someone coming out of the blue. She's done some really, really great work too. And we're so glad to have Jean, who's also well known for her work. Jeannie, who's well known for her work. So we're just so happy to have artists who really are doing something in their field. So Jeannie, I'm gonna let you come up and talk about her work.
Well, thank you so much. I was really happy to collaborate on this issue of border crossing via the internet. The images all came to me in black and white. I looked for the story in each work, something that said, wow. I felt as if I was wandering through an Ansel Adams photo shoot of the UP and Algoma regions while viewing Melissa Connors' work. A Passamaquoddy song helped guide me in this process. This is an excerpt. For we are the stars who sing. We sing with our light. We are the birds of fire. We fly over the sky. Our light is a voice. The cover piece is organic, and yet the upward motion appears to look like a flame. Enigmatically, the downward motion appears like a flowing droplet of water. I think it could quench the fire. Sun Through Trees is over here. It's on page 18 in your book if you have one. The first impression of this piece is a fog or mist filtering through the forest at sunrise. But the more I looked at it, I imagined that the fog could transform into the crimson glow of fire and smoke in the background. The apple tree in fog is on page 38. It's in the back corner. That subject is such a beautiful, lacy silhouette. Steel plant at night is on page 55 if you have the book. I don't believe I see it here, but you all know the steel plant as you cross the bridge. I've never thought of it as a work of art when I go over that bridge, but in that photograph, it is full of stars glowing and reflecting into the river. One knows that the plant's interior has a fire deep within its depths. Power plant with storm clouds is on page 60, and that's Edison Sioux Power Plant. I guess it's Cloverland now, on our side on Portage. I liked the balance of having a United States power plant compared with the Canadian steel plant. The decaying building is on page 82. It's this one up front. The building seems so ancient it could easily be ignited. It just simply melts into the back landscape. These works are the stars who sing with their light in this issue. they kept this viewer engaged in their story.
Thank you, Judy. That was so great. I love hearing you talk about all the pieces. And I hope you guys will take a chance, after the reading's finished, to really take a glance at these pieces of this artwork. I mean, back here, we're used to looking at it. It's one thing, but to look at it up close is quite another. I'm going to turn it over to Jelena now to talk about the nonfiction experience last year. And then after Jelena, then Mary's going to come up.
Hello. I want to thank Mary and Julie for the opportunity to work with the journal last year, particularly with nonfiction. It was really quite a daunting sort of idea. First of all, just getting past the technology, which for me is always a barrier. But there were over 40 submissions of nonfiction that I read alone without an editorial staff. And sitting there with the pile printed out in front of me, I thought, who am I to choose a few pieces, and how do you do that? And I learned very quickly, well, first of all, you just start reading. But the first round, the selection comes by reading the pieces and choosing the pieces that when you get done, you think, now how did I get here? The pieces that draw you back to the beginning and make you want to go through again. So that was the first thing. The second thing that I learned when I got the pile whittled down that way was that a writer shows you so much about how much a moment means to them by the choices that they make. And we were really blessed to have so many writers show us a moment so clearly. And I would say that I was asked to describe what I look for, and this is what I learned that I look for. I look for a place truly rendered, images that come to my mind easily when I read. I look for characters, the speaker and other people who are interacting in authentic ways and speaking in real language in that environment. Precise prose. All of the 4 pieces that are in here are all different lengths. They're all very different subjects, but none of them has a lot of fluff, despite the varying lengths. So precise prose, clear images, and real people, I think I would say, are what I was reading for and looking for in it. And I'm just going to read, just to tease you just a little. The first paragraph of Fight Like a Girl, which is the last piece, the last nonfiction piece in the journal by Paul Crenshaw. And this was a paragraph that sent me back again and again. Where I grew up, one of the worst things you could say about a guy was that he fought like a girl. We had no boxing gyms or wrestling teams, but it was not uncommon to witness someone being beaten up at recess. Fights broke out over touch football games, over girlfriends, over real or perceived insults, over whether the Dallas Cowboys or the Pittsburgh Steelers would win the Super Bowl that year, over whether the Dallas Cowboys or the Pittsburgh Steelers had won the Super Bowl the year before. A real voice going back to a real moment. I think that's what we're looking for. And I hope that if you write nonfiction, you'll submit, and I look forward to reading you this year. Thank you.
Okay. I'm really excited to be here and to be able to talk to you about the process by which work is selected for border crossing in fiction and poetry, and what our student editors do for the journal. So I guess I'll talk about that a little bit first. Border Crossing is a teaching journal, and what this means is that one of the primary goals of the journal is to give our students an opportunity, our creative writing students, and we even have education students on staff, give them an opportunity to work with a publication and to make publishing decisions while they're still undergraduates in school, which is something that undergraduates don't often get a chance to interact with professional writers writing. So we're really, really excited to be able to work with them on that. And so we read submissions blind when our student editors come into contact with writers' work. There's no name attached. They can't see bios. They can't see anything like that. And so the students sort of have to read it and just make their decisions to come back to the editorial meeting to talk about what they liked, why they liked it. And they say it's a real learning process for them. It's really fun to work with students on that. So I'm going to go ahead and recognize this year's group of incoming editors. So we have 2 fiction editors, if you could stand, and they're both here today. Mike Kruger and Stephen Keller. And we have 1 poetry editor this year, Meredith Cleary. All right, we give them a hand of for coming, and get ready to do what the editors are about to do now next year. All right, and so I'm going to introduce, we have student interns working as part of a class at Lake State in both fiction and in poetry, and I'm going to introduce the fiction student editors with whom I work, and Julie's going to introduce the poetry student editors. And the student editors, they're going to come up and they're going to talk about a little bit about the process and what they did while they were editors, and then they're going to read a piece of work that really spoke to them, that they're really excited about having in the journal. So the first student editor who will be coming up is Janessa Stutz. She's a senior from Sheboygan, majoring in elementary education, and she will graduate in 2014. Would you come up?
Thank you. My name is Janessa. I was first a reader for this journal, and it was really interesting. Just the overall, just learning things as I went, and I kind of was in there. I'm an elementary education major, so I'm not, as I write, but I don't as much. But it was a great learning experience just reading, and then got the honor to be an editor of this, and I learned so much, so much more than you could in just a class. So I'm very, very thankful for whom I worked with, and everything that I got taught during this process. The piece I'm going to read is on page 48 if you have a journal. It's called Honking by Tina Tosho? I'm not sure. It's a flash fiction piece, and when we first got it, to me, flash fiction, it was new. So to me, it was, I was like, this is really a story. And then we got to talking about it, and John and I and Mary, we discussed it, and it ended up being so much deeper than what you had originally thought. So I'll go ahead and read this. Mitch Abbott is honking at the bottom of 203 First Street. He's not supposed to on account of Mrs. Walensky's got the kind of cancer that gets in your bones, and Mr. Gold's cat pees on himself on the sill. Still, he's honking like he's got someplace to be other than the library with Gina Catucci. My older brother Warren says Mitch Abbott's got lots of places to be with Gina Catucci. And then he does this thing with his hands down low while he's saying it. Warren's a girl expert this year, ever since the Abrams moved out to Levittown and the Catuccis took their apartment at 203. That's because Warren ended up with Carla Catucci in his class, and she's big for her age. I ended up with Sal in mine, and the guys like him almost as much because he knows which drawers his sisters keep their panties in. Warren says the best thing that ever happened to him was Carla moving to first because that's how he was going to get to second. I told him that makes no sense because you can just cut through the Cohen's yard. They don't mind. He told me to just wait until I'm up at Edison instead of with the sandbox snots. That's what he calls everyone at PS9 ever since he doesn't go there anymore. Get to second is Warren's favorite saying now that the Catuccis have moved in. Mom's favorite saying is going to the dogs. I don't know what that means unless the Abrams' new place allows pets, but she mumbles it every time Mitch honks for that oldest Catucci girl. Thank you.
Thank you, Janessa, that was awesome. Okay, so our other fiction editor who's going to read today is John Keller. And John Keller is a senior from Harbor Springs, majoring in creative writing. His work has already appeared in Heroic Fantasy Quarterly, Strong Verse, and Snowdrifts. Come up.
Hi. First of all, I wanted just to take a real quick moment to thank everybody involved in this whole thing. There's so many people involved, from the library, all the professors, fellow students. I learn from everybody, so I'm like a leech. I take it all in. I don't care who's teaching, I'm learning from it. The great thing about working in the internship, the two-part, like Janessa spoke about, we were readers at first and then became assistant editors. But the great thing about it is that it's part of the whole experience to me of this creative writing program that I'm enrolled in here at LSSU, where you sort of get a tool bag, a tool belt, right? And all the different classes give you different things to stick in there, or they teach you to use the ones you have there, what makes a good piece of writing. Learned a lot from Professor Rose on that in the introductory class, Learned a lot from all the other teachers as well. The thing is, you start to fill up that tool belt, right, with different things. And the great thing about the internship is you get to strap on the tool belt and climb up the ladder and step off onto the roof and maybe take things apart, look at the framing, look at the guts of it, see if you can find a weak spot. While you're doing that, you're finding your own weak spots in your own writing, in your own process. So to me, it's like the best experience ever. I got to look at everybody else's work and take it apart with help, and it helped me take my own work apart. So I'm going to read something from the journal. The hardest part was picking out what to read, because everything in here is just dynamite. It's full of people. The journal's full of people with stories, living in there, so check it out. This is by a man named Richard Dolke. His bio's in the back. I can't tell you much about him, but I know he's won some awards. He was nominated for Penn Faulkner Award for some of his writing and various other awards. This is a story called Something More. Came through, it was already really interesting, really good, just like really virtually everything we got that we ended up accepting. And we had some issues with it, but they got straightened out, and it ended up just being such a good story that it's one of those stories you read it and you don't forget it. So it stays with you. In the story, you have a guy named Jerry I'm sorry. You have a guy named Bill. Sorry. I printed out something as a cheat sheet and it's just throwing me off. This guy works in a cubicle in an office, and he's watching the interplay of all the different characters in this office, and he starts to feel like his life is a little lacking, and he thinks their lives maybe are more full. Well, he stumbles upon a couple of characters that are having an affair, two married people, not married to each other. And Jerry, the guy having the affair, invites him to a party at his home, probably to smooth things over and maybe also, to indulge himself in his own peculiarities. Either way, when Bill gets to the party, Jerry meets him at the door, and Margaret is the woman that Jerry's having the affair with. So all their significant others are there: Margaret's husband, Jerry's wife, and then Bill and his wife. So Jerry came toward him carrying a gin and tonic. "Hey," Jerry said, "get started." He handed him the drink. "Janet looks great, by the way. You hungry? Check out all the crap on that table over there. Margaret and Sam are here." He winked. "I couldn't tell you that at Malloy's." "I saw her," he said. "You have to say hello," Jerry said. "Jerry, it's cool," Jerry said. "We just needed a little of the old familiarity to seal things shut. Know what I'm saying? Come on now." "But wouldn't you think?" "I wouldn't think anything. If not here, then at work. Monday morning or Tuesday morning or whatever, it's cool. The room was filled with perfume. The people wore soft colors. Their clothes were soft to the touch. He had not been in Jerry's home for some time. His feet remembered the thick carpet. He saw the geometric prints fastened to the walls. Everything matched from the ceiling, which gave off a muted iridescence, to the floor. The warm, new tones of the furniture, the heavy drapes thrown back against the night. Music rose from the farthest corner, gathering like warm smoke. Everything promised was in this room. If there were anything more, Jerry had it. He stood before Margaret. Jerry stood beside him. He looked at Margaret. Margaret's face did not know how to be Margaret's face. He had never seen a face quite like this one. It was a face made from the raw material of a face that had the possibility of being any face, even Margaret's. Margaret's eyes wandered and returned, horrified just a little, at the possibilities of his own face. "Hello, Margaret," he said. "Hello, Sam." Margaret tossed her head, trying to shoo the pest that had followed her from the office. She squeezed Sam's arm. She moved a little closer to Sam. Margaret looked at Jerry. On Jerry's face was Margaret's face, only harder. Apart, touched by their disdain, Bill Andrews saw in those faces what his own face was not. He worked in the office where everyone else worked. He lived the life everyone else lived, but he was just Bill Andrews. "Come on, honey," Margaret said, pulling at Sam's arm. "Don't we need another drink?" They went to the bar.
I'm going to introduce the poetry editors for you, but before I do, I just want to interject that I hope our students know that we can't do this without them. I mean, I really hope they know that it's not the same experience if we do it alone, that it's more fun if we do it with you, and it means more to us if we edit this journal with you. So we also can get excited with you about it. When you see it for the first time, we get to get excited with you. So it really means a lot to us that you want to do this. So I just wanted to say that and get over. I mean, we're also very proud too. Don't forget about that. I'm going to introduce the poetry editors that I got to work with last year. First, I got to work with for 2 years, and I'm very happy I got to do that, Laura Gamble. And the thing about our writers is that they're not just editors, they're good writers in their own right. So, we're really proud of them for many, many reasons. Laura's going to come up and read a poem from the issue, and she's a math and literature major from Sault Ste. Marie, and her poetry has appeared in Snowdrifts, and I'm hoping more places pretty soon. Come on in.
So the poem I'm going to read, it was really the first one from this last round of submissions that got me really excited about this issue, and I guess it stuck with me. So this is Vladivostok Pearls by Michelle Mathies. She's happiest when she can run outside with a baton's moist wad of white bread in her twig hand, and long fingers that roll the white pea pearls. That trick's down from the gulag. The little balls were hidden, dried, and savored all day, captive croutons, insurmountable pleasure, currency. I don't think that I'll tell her what I have seen, as she laughs, so half-American with the crust light in her hand, swinging on the painted lady porch, lining up bread bits on the rail. Instead, I think she will survive. I would give her my last morsel, yes, and that's not the point. What is that she would steal it, my junior high burglar in a sky blue jacket and an undershirt of snow. That's fine. We always keep plenty of bread in our careful house.
What Laura didn't tell you is that she fought for that poem. We went many rounds. We liked it, but Laura loved it. And Laura kept fighting and fighting and fighting. Adam, do you think you can?
I suppose so.
Okay. Adam is a sophomore majoring in literature with a minor in creative writing from Sault Ste. Marie. His poems have appeared in Green Blotter, and Snowdrifts, and Border Crossing. He was in our second issue. Come on up.
Thank you, Professor, for the introduction. If it wasn't for that, I'm not quite sure why I would be here. I'm still a little fuzzy as to why I was chosen. I mean, it was really such an honor, to work on this. No one really tells you how difficult it is to be a reader for these magazines because, as Mr. Keller pointed out, these are people who have a story. This is much different from being in a literature class. You're talking about writers who are dead and gone and already established. You can say pretty much whatever you want about them. You can argue about Milton till you're blue in the face. But these people, they have potential. They still have yet to reach that point. So who knows what's to be said about these people. The piece that I was really excited about, unfortunately I cannot read to you while you're here, but I invite you to take a look at it. It's on page 15. It's called Partial Transcript. There's really, this is a piece you have to read to yourself. You really can't read this out loud. But this is one that I fought for tooth and nail because I saw so much in it, and I really can't wait to see what comes about from this writer. But that's what I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Well, now I get to introduce our UP writer who's with us today. We have one UP writer, one Michigan writer in the Journal. Our other Michigan writer is Emma Huey, who lives down in Grand Rapids, and she's at Grand Valley State. We also have our UP writer here today with us, Amber Edmondson, who drove from Marquette to be here, and I can't tell you how happy we are that you came out, and I can't wait to hear you read your poem in here and then some other work. But let me introduce her and let her come up and read to you and entertain you. Amber is a book artist and co-founder of Lit UP, another journal in the UP, so keep an eye out for that journal. She studied English at Northwestern Michigan College. Publications include The Way North, collected Upper Peninsula new works, so take a look at that. Dunes Review and Straightforward Poetry. Good job, I love straightforward. And she lives near Marquette. Come on up.
Hello. I just want to thank Julie and Mary and everyone involved with Border Crossing for inviting me to read here tonight. I'm really excited. My piece that's in this issue is Locomotive Heart.
And I want to go to the microphone really quick.
Is that any better? How's that? Sorry, I have a really soft voice. Okay, is that any better? Okay, I can hear it. Locomotive Heart. The dead sparrow is still this tiny fever of feathers in your palm, and you wonder what it would take to fashion a heart from copper and steam, 100 whistling valves and gears and levers, and finally, the fragile liquid twitch of black eyes. You wonder what it would take, the pumping and the heaving, the breathing. You wonder what it would take. It would take a man in love with machines. It would take a man in love. I've been invited to read a few more poems, so I'll do that. I've lived in the UP for about 6 years and first came up here for a botany internship at Michigan Tech, and as I drove across the UP, you see the colors of the roads change from gray roads closer to downstate and purple and pink and green and red, and I think it's from what we mine in the areas. So this poem is about that. It's igneous. Up here, we gravel the roads purple, green, and pink, each one paved with what they've hauled from the ground. Here they say, our bones are composite carbon, and when we strike them together, they are headlamp birdsong. You and I sow seedlings in mine shafts. We work with what we've got. I have a little trio of love poems. Young arsonists. In the summer, we set small fires. We drape promises from power lines like children's shoes, conjure futures as tender as the lamb's eye. It's leathery outside like a pouch hung from a belt, and we are learning to carry our hearts of red swollen fruit inside it. Your wrists are bee stung. Your skin is sunburned. You are this fever. I am a brush fire. We catalog each tree in the forest before we burn it down. The Latin name is derived from the word which means one who cuts. Where one expects hands, he has a compass and an axe. Where a heart, a topographical map. One could spend the luminescent decade of one's 20s studying him, and we did. Worn journals and photographs, late night arguments, dark-bodied beer, sex when the arguments ended, the one who cuts kept in stacks on the nightstand, an ugly voyeur. And there you were, lit from the inside. You were lit from the inside. Because at the time we love someone, and so we paint them beautifully while we still love them. We paint their hair like birds on this big lake's breeze, waves as heavy as bodies falling onto the shore, and maybe that is supposed to look like this longing locked up in the two small apartments of our chests. But if we were boldly honest, maybe we'd paint lions crowded around a tender, panting antelope, more accurate of our appetite, more accurate of our gusto, a word heaving itself from the linguistic pit where words are burned, the infinitive to eat, flaming up and simmering down, and then other words are falling out. Unexpected words, maybe, like disgust, all the way back to the shared root between taste and choose. Words like gray ash tumbling down from the mother word, and there you are on the other side, your features glowing with the last ember, orange, warm, a percussive heart. In the city of Cochabamba, there is a prison. In a single cell, a woman lives with her mother and daughter, 3 generations of women stacked tight like knotted firewood, an ugly pile of kindling. Men build prisons from the bones and sharply angled lifelines of their women. A guard tells her, "Write your husband," and laughs because she is unable. His uniform is crisp. His face is smooth. The soldiers raided the camp at midday. The men were gone. She stood at gunpoint and watched the tents dissolve into flames. If she could write, she would say, "You were gone." She would say, "Instead of sleeping, your daughter stacks up twigs in the prison grounds, tiny pyramids good for setting fire." She would say, "We cannot breathe here. We are choking on smoke. We are all burning up here," she would say. "We are all burning up." At night, the empty pages, and her daughter sings them to sleep, her dry whisper of breath like a match head struck in the dark. I think I'll end on a couple UP poems. Suppose the dust. Suppose last century's ore dust could rise from Superior's bed. Suppose it could strap itself to the glassy bands of agates, to fish bones, to children's feet when they slip past the surface of water. Sometimes you smell it when the dock operates, the filthy work clothes of miners long dead, the sweat that rises in stubble, the way black dust stamps exposed skin. And when the mine shaft gives, suppose the men. Suppose the dust falls back down like October snow, vanishing light, closing time like a door. Suppose you could be the last breath of clean air. Suppose you could be the lake that fills the void of ground. Suppose you rise to your own level. The translated land. 1. The land loses in the shift from its language to mine, loses the dialect of birch leaves shimmering silver in the wind, or what it means to fall in love with a lake-polished stone like a child from one's own body. I walk its spines and shorelines, stranger and transient, a flea in its fur sometimes a bird just passing overhead. 2. He forgets the way someone else's skin feels, and so he digs for it, turns the ground inside out for it, swallowing rock and bone, and then only hunger, a body always wanting more than mountains. 3. When the saints come marching in, they lie in the tracks of bulldozers. 4. Read the land, and what does it say? If you can find it, if time permits, if the earth speaks in rivers or in stones. 5. I am not those before me. I am not the pickaxe. I am not those who will come later and will know better. 6. When the saints come marching in, they pray to the God of spiked trees and slashed tires. 7. They press bare feet to river rock and balance and breathe. They cradle cool sand in their creases, bear witness to the body of the river. 8. When the saints come marching in, they sing louder than chainsaws sometimes. 9. Mines over mountains, stacks in the sky, gold in the rivers 1,000 miles wide. Winter Superior. You could heal yourself at the palm of the lake all winter long. It inflates and deflates like a living lung on the shore, breath harnessed, black and deep. Deer tracks on snow-covered ice, a weaving path from the black cliffs and down to the place where the ice slopes at the edge and into the water. You could match the quiet of the doe who came before dawn to drink, to trust the thickness of ice, the graceful sound of shattering. And one last poem. How to live with the sadness of the world. Swallow the cold. Let it live behind your ribs. Pick thimbleberries, fleeting, tender hearts furred against your tongue. Find a lake-chilled stone that fits in your palm only. Say a prayer for it. Send it back to the water. Thank you.
Amber, thank you so much for reading those gorgeous poems. Well, we're all done for the night. If you haven't had snacks yet, there's still snacks on the table. Thanks so much to Bayless. The refreshments are provided by the Friends of the Library. Thank you for all the editors who came out tonight. If you want to meet them, they're all still here. So by all means, ask questions if you want to. Just talk to them about the experience. Talk to our contributors. We have 2 contributors here, Amber and Melissa. Take some time to look at Melissa's work if you haven't yet. Please do before you leave. You won't be sorry. And of course, all of you who showed up tonight. Thank you so much for supporting our journal and coming out and listening to us. We also want to thank all of our colleagues who came out tonight. The dean, who's extremely supportive of us all the time. We just couldn't be happier to have a dean like her. And also to help support us if you want to. Any journal copy that you buy does support us, and it goes right back into working on our journal. So it just all feeds right back in. So thank you so much for coming out tonight, and hang around and chat for a little bit, and thanks again.